Hi everyone, welcome to Friends of Figma. Friends of Figma Faisalabad is a way to bring folks together for sharing knowledge, discuss topics related to Figma and the field of UI, UX, and product design. We are trying to learn from each other and growing our community together. So today we have honorable guest Mr. Zulqarnain Ansari. So he's a part of the foremost think tank in design and user experience research. So he's a pioneer in Pakistan user experience design and having 21 years of experience so far. So he's also a CEO of Pakistan's first UX studio, ExpertX. In the past, he had the user experience departments at System Limited, Rosie.pk, and some of his key accomplishments were TeamViewer, McDonald's, Zongs, Freeman, and so on. His core expertise includes Stanford University, D-Schools, and Google Sprint Designs, design thinking and digital transformation trainings, and the mentorship. So, welcome to this event, Sir Zulqarnain. So, I'm just setting you as a host of this event. So now you're able to share your screen and present your slides. Let's start, sir.
And leaves. So these are symptoms which you can see. But the problem is not symptoms. So say that the user tasks are not your feature list. So user tasks are different. You can see the features, that's a symptoms which you can see or a user can see. The problem is behind the symptom which you have to observe. So there must be exercises to observe that. And there is a causes of that problem. So if you see a person, in simple words, if a person is angry, having a headache, impatient, this is a symptom which you can see. And you can't say that it's a solution for that. So you have to observe the problem. That problem might be hypertension. But how you observe that problem, you have to spend certain time with that user, ask certain questions about the environment, about the situations. And then there is analysis and the causes. You find that maybe that analysis is stress. Based on the stress, that user got the hypertension. Because of the hypertension, the user get headache. So rather than providing him a pills for the headache, you have to continue with the observation of the hypertension and the stress analysis. ADP list allow. So now, solution. So here's the thing where design thinking is talking about the right solution. Is there any message for me about UX misconception? Okay.
Not yet.
Okay. So solution is about the right solution. When you talk about the right problem, you have to understand that the right solution. Now, what is the right solution? That's another important aspect. Many people believe that the right solution is the only solution which we think a user has to. So you have to discuss with the user and see what the right solution is for your user, which work for them within the system they are living. So this is a discovery of the right solution. All of these aspects are called the design thinking. So I already mentioned the problem solving. So that problem solving it's a mindset out of multiple mindsets. If you see, I had listed down some of the bigger mindsets that like a prioritization 80-20 rule or a compound interest or a behavioral change or a cause and effect. These are the mindsets which people are working on it. The design thinking is the problem solving mindset. You cannot come up with the design thinking solution with the scientific mindset or cause and effect mindset. You come up with the design thinking with the problem solving mindset. So you must be aware that there are multiple other mindsets. And what I'm trying to actually explain here, sometimes you find a mismatch of one implementation of one methodology and which have a collapse or a quarrel with the different set of methods or methodologies. So problem solving method is only work with the people who are actually believe in the problem solving. And what is that? It's actually, if you see this double diamond model, it has two spaces. One is a problem space, one is a solution space. Like I explained earlier, if you spend most of your time in your problem space, your solution space will be automatically lesser. It will save your time, it will save your effort, it will save your resources. So how you do that? You discover the market and customer unmet needs. You do your flare part. You open your a bird open their feather. You can widen your lens, and you can flare it, and you can see the discovery, the more part of the problem. And then there is a point when you have to reach towards the focus rather than the flare. That what we can do that with this problem, and that focal point is your definition, where you define the problem after the discovery. And then when you define your problem, you again flare within the definition that, okay, these are the areas which we want to explain, and how much more flare we can do within that particular point. And you reach at that one certain point in the solution space where you again try to focus. So you, in other words, you are actually diverge and converge the different things, and the solution arises here. It also appears with the things that this is the area where the things are ambiguous for you. It's something unknown to you. And the solution is, this is the idea of the innovation. So the sweet spot of unknown to the innovation is the process of design thinking. So 3 major steps to create the business value in the design thinking process is the problem finding and the problem solving. For the problem finding, there is exploration for the customer and the problem. And the problem solving is the testing and execution. The problem finding is your design thinking, the whole process. And the problem and execution, the test and execution is your lean set startup or agile and execution of the solution. This diagram actually, I try to explain you a visual for the thing where people mention that we work in the agile environment. We don't need the design thinking. Or some people thought that we need the design thinking but not agile. They both are wrong. The bird eye view is they can work parallel. For the problem finding is you can deal the design thinking, and when you get to the solution, your solution come with the iterations of very well defined the agile part, where you test the problem and solution after getting the input from the design thinking. So the output of the design thinking process of the exploration is the input for the test phase for the agile. So this is where you involve your design thinking in the major steps. Now talking about the problem space once again, you have this discovery phase. The problem space have 3 different things when you have to work with the problem or the customer or the market. There are known knowns, there is known unknowns, and there is big unknowns. So the known knowns are the areas or the pointers where you know the problem and you know the solution for that. For instance, if you're a pilot and you are and your duty is to make autopilot, but there is a bad weather, so what you do? You automatically take the manual control and use this and turn off the autopilot. This is, the problem is known, the solution is known as well. The second part is known unknowns. It means that you might know the problem. This one, okay. So I was explaining this 3 major steps to create the business value. It includes the design thinking and agile at the same time. So you can work with the both methodology. They actually handshake with each other as a lean UX we can call. So this is method which I was trying to explain the known knowns, the known unknowns, the big unknowns. I think I don't have to explain again for the known knowns, but the known unknowns was when you as a doctor you see a patient and that patient provide some of the symptoms, discuss about some of the symptoms, and you try to provide him some medication or prescription. So that is something which you know that you don't know the real answer and you need certain more questions about it. So you ask them for lab tests, and the patient reaches you after a week maybe or 2 or 3 days with the test report, and then based on the reports you will take your next stage or next step. So this is where you know the known unknowns, that you don't know the solution yet, but you know the process, how to get the solution. The third process is the big unknowns. That big unknowns means you don't know about the problem, you don't know about the solution. So at that stage, the best process is your design. Both problems and solutions are unknown. It involves quite a bit of risk as you are leaving the comfort zone of your organization. That's the challenging part. You must have to leave the comfort zone of your organization. And that's why sometimes people don't involve or don't like the design thinking, the real method of the design thinking. So Stanford D School's design thinking process is here in front of you. It starts with the big unknowns, like I explained. It's a blind sport and ends up with the innovation. The process of the design thinking is empathize, define, ideate, prototype, test, and it's not a linear model. It's a non-linear where you can come back to any stage from any stage after the empathize. So this is a process, and I will explain you one by one, stage by stage. So let's start with the big unknowns. The big unknowns is the starting stage. So in the problem space, let's say this is an example. The customer ignores my product. How can I understand why? So required activities are maybe immersion or engaging. You have to meet with the customer. Required mindset is design thinking. And there are certain methods to do that. Maybe a 5 why or basic warm-up exercises. So what are these? So let's say with more details. A product is a bag of ice cubes. And customer ignores the product of a bag of ice cubes. Now you start with the 5 why basic method. First you ask why customer ignores your product. So start with the customer, sit with them, ask them with the interviews, and ask certain questions. So you get the answer because she doesn't like buying it. You have to ask again a question, why? The answer of that why is, second round of why is, because she doesn't like other products in her bag to get wet. The answer of that why is because this affects other products, and she doesn't like that while she had a refrigerator at home to make the ice cubes at home. So, fair enough. Ask another why, because she doesn't want to pay the products in wet packaging. And why is that? Because she only wants to pay for the quality of the product. So what counter measures and the possible solutions for that is positioning ice bag cubes at the register to be sold after walking through shop, or change the packaging as per the frozen items packaging standards to ensure wet tissue solve. So rather than just changing your products look and feel, their colors, their branding or rebranding, you actually dig down what is the actually real unmet needs of your customer, and then reposition, remarketing, rework, change your product accordingly. That is the passion of the knowing unknowns or big unknowns. Okay, so first, yes, most important stage of the problem definition in the design thinking is empathize. And that is where root cause identification. The customer empathy or empathize is where design thinking helps you with the identifying the root cause of the problem. It's called customer empathy. So you have to work with the customer so you can feel it. It's not a pity, it's not a sympathy, it's empathy. So there are 3 stages. That let's get into the user's shoes and see what they're experiencing and feeling. Here I wanted to stop sometime and provide you a definition of the user experience as per the ISO standards, that why we need to understand the user feelings. The ISO definition is of the user experience as to observe, analyze, measure, and change users' feelings and emotions, psychological behaviors and perceptions before, after, and during using your product or solutions with the context of the environment and the problem. So you have to seek the feeling and change the feeling of the customer. And that's why we have to understand their feeling. And how you do that? Let's observe, engage, watch, and listen. These are the 3 phases. Let me walk you through all those 3 phases one by one. And how you do that? There's immersion, lightning tasks. These are some of the exercises where you can get the empathize. I'm again repeating, there's some of the exercise, there are more. So here I will explain only 2. That's empathy building exercise or immersion. So customer empathy is number 1 is try immersion, look, observation. And so try immersion is the first part. So immerse yourself in the experience of the others. You have to wear too many hats. So figuratively, wear many hats. It's a try immersion. You have to wear multiple hats. So immerse yourself in the experience of the others. Figuratively, hats try to experience the same as your customer does and uncover the hurdles, pains, and inconveniences, etc. So that's the first part. Look, observation. So observe what people do. If you see there's a picture of these people who are talking with each other, and you have to see the behavioral analysis, their position of standing, how they talk, their movements, their hand positions. So you have to capture the insights from a distance. And the third part is engagement. Engage the people in the conversation in the interview. Ask what, how, and why, the golden circle by the Simon Sinek. So you ask the people in the real environment they are. Immerse yourself at that so you can feel that how people feel comfortable in their environment, in their context. So immersion is an example of the immersion is to more clarify this thing is MRI scans require a person not to move, but little kids cry and move around. That's the first part. By immersing in the experience of a kid, you can learn that for a kid, an MRI room must be a very stressful and frightening experience where he or she felt alone and captured. So this is a valuable insight. When you do that by yourself, you feel the same thing, and that is the missing connection. You will connect that dot. So possible solution is kid-friendly MRI. Simply commands to get the scan done actually become a part of adventure. So they see different toys, they see different journey using of the colors. So using of the color based on the insights, that is called empathy. The second phase of the customer empathy of the immersion is observation. So now a product of a company notices sales of a package is low, while the package is popular in the area. So why it is low? So by observing the people's behavior in the office, they learned that production staff is not supplying the deliverables with the great delight because they are tired. So possible solution is pickup service offered by the company. So production team is quicker at work and back home. This is, you get the solution based on the observation. And the engagement. The last part is engagement, the most important part. Water wells installed by the NGOs are not being used. That's an example. So there's lots of money around, there's lots of efforts around when you produce some solution for as an NGO, and people are not using it. And why is that? You have to do the engagement and immersion with the people. So through engaging in the environment, they learned that the road to the water wells is long and the water barrels too heavy. And if you see, many ladies are finding the difficulties in traveling and getting all this water. So this is the valuable insight. So what's the possible solution? This is a top solution of 2014 or 2017, I guess. The 19-liter Hippo roller enables users to collect 5 times more water than a single bucket, plus improve the water access. They can use it as a tire. They don't have to lift it. They don't have to take this weight. And they can still it based on the movability. So the look and feel of the product or the final solution is based on the insight. It must be based on the insight, based on other empathy. The second thing is define after the empathy. It's a countermeasure is insight identification. At this stage, you have to synthesize your findings, which you discovered from the empathy and the research phases by implementing multiple steps. And I just explained a couple of them. And now you have the data. So get the data, debriefing with your team and co-creation with the user as well. You have to tackle 3 areas to be addressed. One is users, then their needs, then their insights. Maybe you understand your users before the problem, but during your empathy phase or ideate phase, now you better discover the types of the user. There are multiple user segments maybe. Maybe you're coming with a patient record keeping system and you only consider patients and the doctors. But during your discovery, you find that there is a account system, there is a whole ecosystem which allows for the healthcare. There's a healthcare department which influence your, there's a medication, there's a pharmacy, there's a labs. So you might involve different user segments to discover their point of views. So your end result of your solution would come up with the different areas rather than the features. You come up with their roles. And so user roles and the user tasks. And to do this, you have to start with the users, segments of the users. their needs, and the insight why these needs. These are the three areas of the define phase. Okay, so there are multiple exercises, like to explain in the ideate phase. There are multiple exercises you can see here. There's affinity mapping, there is experience strategy, there's a design principle, business model canvas. I would just show you the affinity mapping because of the limited time. So this is an example of the affinity mapping. That affinity mapping is when you get the data, and lots of data based on your diary studies, your research, your ideation. You get all the data in the sticky notes, put it and make a themes, categorize in some order, in certain order, which makes some sense, and you will be open. Rather than bounding yourself into the features or functions, you will come up with the real user thoughts process. And this is how you do before. There are segmentation and different sticky notes, and then all the sticky notes gather around with those segmentations. And from here you redefine the features. So this is a definition. The third phase is ideate. That is the countermeasure of the visualize your solutions. Here is the time where you should start the visualization part of the solution part. Focus on the idea generation. And two areas where you should start is the creativity and the group synergy. When I mentioned about the generation and evaluation of the idea and talking about the group synergy, it's not one designer, it's not multiple designers, it's not the people of the researchers, it's even not the designers plus developers plus managers plus whole team of the stakeholders, but it also involves the group synergy of your users as a co-creation. You involve everyone at a place for the idea generation to translate the problems into the solution. There are multiple processes here as well in this ideate stage. I will explain only one, like crazy 8. So that crazy 8 is when you and your team sit together and make this crazy 8 exercise. The tip of the crazy 8 exercise is you actually made a one page with 8 different mobile screens and come up with 8 different ideas, rough ideas, crazy ideas, which are quick, junky. There is no need to alignment. There is no need to be much design or refined part. Everything is just crazy. So you can actually, whatever you have in your mind, you can visually provide. There's sometimes the people who are not with the design field, they have this problem to say that we cannot come up with the visuals. So there are certain exercises which I actually provide as a part of my mentorship, where I provide a creative confidence that everyone is creative. So how they do that, and there is a complete study of the Harvard University that everyone is creative, just they stop doing the creative things based on some traumas. So moving forward is the fourth stage. It's a prototype. The prototype, the countermeasure for the prototype is the shape experience. Though it's a time where you have to draft or craft experience. You understood the experience from empathy and the define. Now in this stage, you have to shape the experience in the way which you ideated. So it's a start building and the storyboard. These are some of the examples. So build, think, simple, cheap, and fast way. That how you made experience based on the interactivity or the prototype of the things. These are certain exercises for the prototype, and I will explain only the storyboard and show you that storyboard. So example of the storyboard I pick and chose, it's about Audi. So there's an Audi customer engagement UX story for the storyboard. One, lunchtime at work. So at a free pace, job person, a guy, a lady who's doing a job, in her lunchtime, she saw that there's an ad. Take a look at all new A4. So let's chat. There was a chat option. She started a chat, and at the some time he asked for upgradation. And what happened? Book a test drive from home. So he found there is a test. Next morning, found a message, and that message, your car will be delivered between 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. today. Just after 1 p.m., there is a person with a car, and she is ready for the test drive. Here, they are actually explaining the experience which not built yet, but they wanted that this is the experience we wanted to create. So their team of the designers, the team of the developers, the stakeholders, everyone knew that this is the solution they wanted to make. This is the solution they wanted to come up. So this is an example of the storyboard. A test is the last phase of this design thinking five-step process. The countermeasure is reframe your view. Now, you don't have to see that we empathize it, we define it, we ideate it, and we prototype it. Now, our solution is the best solution. This is our best recipe for the failure. You have to reframe your view based on the customer feedback. There is some sort of the feedback, you come up with the prototype. So there's a test, you have to show them, ask for the feedback on the prototype, and reframe, recreate the experience. There are multiple areas of the testing phase as well. These are the some of them. I will only explain one of the cognitive walkthrough. That cognitive walkthrough is you get your user flows and the task flows. Here I will explain where the user flow comes up. When you get a complete process, there is a user persona. You made the user persona, you made empathy map based on what your customers see, feel, say, think. You get the pain points and the gain points in the customer empathy. And then you pick that those pain points of your customers align on some of the particular context, which are the touch points where customer has the pain points. That is called your journey map. And those pain points, you will have user scenarios. Those user scenarios will translate as a user flows. Those user flows has certain task flows. So this cognitive walkthrough is particularly meant as a usability testing for your solution by asking certain questions for the task flows and document the responses, record all of these responses. For example, if this is the prototype and your message start here and task is user records and uploads a video. So action sequences, user progress records, yes, no. User process stop, yes, no. So you have to document what the people are doing, what the people are not doing, what they have, where they get the challenge. More clear explanation is here. There are 4 areas which documented. Will the user try and achieve the right outcome? So the final goal, you have to understand that customer understand and try to achieve it or not. That if, for instance, if user has to try and achieve, if there is a mobile application and they have a multiple playlist of songs, and I am, as a user, wanted to increase the volume of the song. And all of a sudden, I think that if I touch and drag, and it will be automatically, with my finger, it would be increase the volume. But what happened? The song changed. It means what I tried to achieve, it was not happened. So will the user try and achieve the right outcome? Yes, no, recommendation. This is where you document what is actually user has the problem using your solution. Will the user notices the correct action is available? That's the second part. Is there any helpline, guideline where I see that what happened right or left, or it's just based on the assumption? The third thing is, will the user associate the correct action with the effect that user is trying to achieve? So there was a matchmaking website. And matchmaking website is not only where you have to match your relationship. There is a job matchmaking website. There is other matchmaking website. So there was a matchmaking website. When I saw it, there was a job one-by-one job listing. And there were 2 options. If I swipe left, it's actually like. And if I swipe right, it's dislike. In both cases, it proceeds to the next available job. Now, how could I understand that it's a dislike and it's a like? What happened? When I disliked some job, it appears you have disliked. And all of a sudden, it come a pressure for me that I have to take the right decision. Instead of it, so it's a no, it's big no, that this is not a good, what I was trying to achieve it as a user, it's not happening. So recommendation is write something here that what happened on the right, what happened on the left. Just put a text there, dislike or like. Fourth, last part, will the user see the progress is being made towards the solution of the task, that to achieving that task or the goal, and it's a particular task of the where user is, Is he able to see what I have progressed? What is my progress? What have I accomplished? What I have to accomplish on the later stages? If it's clear, it's yes. Otherwise, it's clear no, with the recommendation how to do that. So these are certain areas. It's one example just to show you that how the cognitive walkthrough works. So the conclusion is, I'm concluding the whole conversation or session today is design thinking is a problem solving. It's talking about the problem and the solving. It's a problem solving mindset. It's non-linear. You can do after empathy. You always start with empathy, but after empathy, every stage can be reverted back. It's an iterative process. So you can take this iteration as many as you think or believe that now we come to a solution which is actually acceptable for the user. Understand the user with the context of system, with the context of the limitations, with the context of the problem. Challenge the assumptions, whatever the assumptions you or your stakeholders have. Challenge it with the real user data. Redefine the problems. Always you have to redefine the problems. You don't have to define the problem and stick with it. It's again agile, so you have to redefine the problem very frequently whenever it's discovered. It's for innovative solution. Remember this thing, design thinking is not for the ordinary or the classical approach of the solution. It's for innovative. That is why it's risky. So it's a 5-phase process. I had explained it roughly and briefly in my previous screens. And it's for wicked, ill-defined or unknown problems. I had explained unknown problems as well, but I'm trying to express this thing. The jargon word is wicked. That wicked problem is some of the problems which actually rebel back. If you ever saw a boxer practicing with a punching bag, the more power it took and the more powerful punch towards the bag, it rebelled back the more powerfully. So every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. That is called your wicked problem. Means if you try to solve a problem, the solution might have the problem. And that problem might be bigger than the original problem which you try to solve. So you may have to step back, rethink the problem, and rediscover with some other solution, not only the solution. So that is how you work with the wicked problem. Just explaining, my name is Zulqarnain Ansari. I have 21 years of experience in this field, and I am a founder and chief design officer at Experts Desk. Experts Desk is first UX studio of Pakistan. We are working since 2001, and we have a team of 20 UX researchers and designers. And I am providing the mentorship under the Experts Desk mentorship sessions. Human-centered design, UX strategies, design thinking are some of the tools which I explain to the business guys, to the technical guys, to the designers as well. If you wanted to see more videos, there is a link of my YouTube channel. Taiba, please share this channel's link to the people if you want to see more videos, my UX vision videos, design thinking, which will be uploaded at that as well. And this is a time for you to ask the question. I'm here to respond the answers if you have any.
Sir, we have a question in our chat box.
Sure.
Sanaula asked, so do we need to follow every steps of empathy that you discussed?
Okay, so you have to actually follow more than the steps even which I actually explained, because like I explained that these are the sum of the steps. These are only a few steps. You must focus all the steps. Why is that? Like I explained, that there's a problem space, there's a solution space. You have to spend more time into the problem space. You have less iteration in the solution. If you don't do that, I'm explaining you exactly what will happen. You will come up with a solution very early, provide design that this is something that there's the solution that will work, and you will actually stuck with unlimited loops. Revision number 1, revision number 2, because you don't know nothing why this revision appears. Because someone from the stakeholders, he might be a manager, he may be a dev lead, he may be a CEO of the company, or maybe someone else. He come up that we don't like the colors, we don't like the things. So what is the solution? Actually talk with the problem. What are the problems and what are the solutions? Come up with the real problems, come up with the real solutions. And you have to spend much of your time to the problem. Empathy is the first stage for the discovery of the problem. And you have to actually spend lots and lots of time. Like I can explain you 70 plus exercises, resource flow exercise, like card sorting exercise, like um, uh, there was an exercise which we called connecting the emotions, analogous inspiration. So there are 70 plus exercises to actually discover. And it's, if you understood all the exercises very clearly, it's your duty that you see that in this particular project, wherever you are working, which exercise needs here. So spend maybe 3 or 4 exercises for the empathy. It's necessary. That's
Yes, sir. Actually, the next question is for me. So we have the similar 5 steps in the design sprint. So do we have any difference between design thinking or design sprint? Because we have almost similar wording for each approach.
That's a very nice question, Abdullah. So design sprint is particularly drafted and crafted for lean UX. And what is lean UX? The lean UX is like shrink things down. So when you shrink things down, which is a 5-stage process and 5-day process, getting by and heavily influenced by Google, because Google invested in it. So it's a GV Google venture. You know that Google is the biggest graveyard of the startups. Their own startups. My another talk is on this. When there was a Google Wave flop, it was the biggest flop of the Google that they thought that this application could not be flopped, and they used the design sprint as well. So what's the difference between design sprint? Design sprint is a 5-day process where you have limited time. It is suitable only for a new feature. If in a product, in an already available product, you're trying to explore a one feature, you go take down with the design sprint and go quickly draft, where you use expert opinion, where you use some of the maybe online activities, maybe some of the interviews, and that's it. You don't have the time for immersion. You can't walk to the user in their environment. That is the biggest no for the design thinking. So design thinking and design sprints, there is where they don't match with each other. Design thinking is a philosophy where you spend more of the time in the problem space and less time in the solution space. The design sprint is focused on the equal space for the problem and solution, but they have a limited deadline, so they can't actually go to the solution space or the problem space beyond. That is why their iteration circles are again and again and again, and that's for lean UX and plus AI. It's not human-centered. The real human-centered time duration is actually minimum 5 months.
I got your point.
Yeah. There's another question that someone asked, that how can we find this is the right solution? So there are many solutions out there. So one solution might work for me, one solution might work for you, one solution might work for our stakeholders. So what is the right solution? So the whole process which I was trying to explain, it was discovery of the right solution, and the right solution which works for the user. So let me explain as an example. The person who created a car, I don't remember the name of the car. It was, the logo was of horse. Ford, Henry Ford. So Henry Ford mentioned that once when I talk with the user and ask that what they want, and they provided that the insights that people say that we want to speed. What the question Henry Ford asked from the users or the farmers, what you need to speed up your process, and they say that we need multiple horses, and if you need more speed, we need more horses. So he come up with a car, and the unit of measurement of the car is was at that time horsepower. The 40 horsepower means it will speed up to the 40 horses. So what does this means? There's one thing which you say the user wants. You have to discover the user wants with the process I had explained, and more, which I haven't explained because of limited time. And there is the user needs. To understand the user needs, that you don't need only more horses, you need a car where you actually align your business process with the user needs. You have to come up with logical angles, there are system context, there are ecosystem mapping exercise, there are multiple exercises where you actually come up with the, and yes, that assumptions versus hypothesis is another exercise where you actually crafted the needs. And based on those user needs, that is the answer, that this is the right solution. And again, this is what you only document. And now when you come up with the prototype and the wireframes, you have to show that experience to your users. So again, this is your assumptions, that this is what is right for your customer or users. You have to show it to users. If they say no, they are unable to see it, or that solution, they are unable to find that this solution is for them, it clearly means you will get the answer. If it's not work for user, you have to go back and iterate until you will come up with the right solution. Is the answer for your question. It's a question from Mahdi. Okay, so any other question? And you're welcome, Muhammad Sanaullah. Thank you very much.
So do you have another question from your Zoom meeting, or should I ask from my side?
No, any other question, please?
Yes, sir. Actually, I'm also. I'm just assuming that if our user is too illiterate, so he don't know which solution is the right for him.
Perfect.
How do we identify this solution, or we test multiple solutions with them so that we can identify this solution will be suitable to use or interact for the users? Because we see that a lot of startup has started multiple solutions, but some startups just lay down, or the user feedback is not good for them. So how do we identify this? Yes, sir. You can continue.
To change the UX practices, because
yes, sir,
user is there and will always be there. The experience is already there. You have to enter and penetrate and ask the questions from the user. So we had a great project which is called Polta, and we have to involve with the poultry farm owners. And that poultry farm owners, most of them were illiterate. And then we more dig down with the multiple user segments. There was managers, there were labor, and the labor are purely illiterate. And now we have to make a solution for the illiterate labor. And why is that? They have the mobile phones. Okay, that's the first thing. Our user segments. I'm explaining through the example. So the poultry farm owners explaining that their laborers has a mobile phone because the poultry farm owner provided them, and they use the WhatsApp, they use the TikTok. So if they use it, they can use your solution. Now, TikTok level and WhatsApp level solution for a software technical, that was a bit challenging. So we have actually dig down that what are the challenges you are facing, the laborers, and we found that there was IoT devices which actually measuring the temperature, water, and other areas, and provide the signals to the mobile. And that mobile screens, that's water signals need your attention, air filters need your attention, and they are unable to actually read it. If we actually translate into the Urdu and in their language, they actually are unable to read their own language as well. Now, what to do with that situation? So IoT devices had the signals, the voice signals as well. So we actually drafted there are 5 signals, the water, air, and so we made on their cognitive senses. We provided different voices and different sounds, that there is a different sounds, a different signal for air, different signal, different voices for the temperature, different voices for, so the user can understand that what kind of sound they're hearing. So they have to react quickly. Second thing is, we only shown them a picture of the poultry farm shed, so they can see where they have to go and where have to come up with a solution. So only show what they can see and understand. That's it. That's the actually duty of the UX, how you understand that. There's another example of the farmers. When I met a person and they have 2 kinds of crops, and I asked that if you what kind of crops you have, and he said that 2 kinds of crops, and one crop was of wheat and one crop was for rice. And I asked that which you like the most. He said wheat. Okay. Now my point was, how percentage of the wheat more important than the rice as per you? He didn't understand my question. And my question is, okay, out of, let's forget about the percentage. Out of 100, how to the wheat. It didn't again understand my question. The third question is, I draw this thing. Now, see this. A circle.
Yes, sir. A circle.
How much wheat you think that you would like to grow? And he come up with this. Now I understand, okay, 70%. So sometimes if you are working with a people with illiteracy or limited literacy rate, or maybe with a different context with, as for the different environment or the different class system, it's your duty as a UX researcher to ask the questions which they understand, or ask the question which they, or if they are not understanding your question, reframe the questions until they will understand. This is the answer of the question.
Yes, sir.
Based on the
Simply
way-
we just have to
Adjust
ask a
yourself
question in an
rather
easy
than try
way,
to
so that
adjust your users.
thank you for explanation, sir.
You are welcome. That's all from the real explanation. That it's actually what I experienced in the market in the real, and with the context of our own environment. Any other question we have?
For I think left the meeting. So, but we have recorded the session, so I'll upload it on the YouTube. So, by the way, I just want to know about your mentorship, sir. Is it online or it would be physical classes, so that I can
Both.
just.
We have the online mentorships using right now. I actually providing 3 months. It's a 3 months boot camp, human centered design, and it's online right now. But mostly I provide it physically, because there's some of the sticky notes and lots of exercises. Like I explained, it's over 100 exercises. So I wanted
Yes, sir.
people to show me what they're doing rather than just explaining a theory, and that's the one thing.
Yes, sir.
Taiba, please share my ADP list link. So anyone from this session or in your circle, you share that link. That's a free mentorship. If they want questions, a portfolio review, the process, the UX process review, they simply book a slot, a 45-minute slots I have. So book a slot
Yes,
with
sir.
me, show the problem, and I will engage with them based on my experience. And but if they wanted to take a proper 3 months boot camp, it's not because right now it's already ongoing. When it will be closed, I will again initiate. I think maybe by January or February next year, you can join at that stage. It's paid
Sure,
as well.
sir.
And
Sure,
someone
sir.
actually asked another question, that what is that question? At what stage we build the personas? That's Tuba Malik asked that question. I was told that it's done before primary research to define the target audience. Is that correct? Okay, so Tuba, you're still with us. So the persona building is yes, before the primary research, because the primary research is all about the users. The secondary research is all the research exercises which you do through or from your desk. Like if you are doing a computer analysis or online research work, it's all the secondary research. But once you get into the user research, there's but again, you have to do certain exercises of the primary research before user persona. That is user segmentation, definition, group users, where you have to group activities, ask the question from the user. Then there's a mainstream users and extreme users discovery. The extreme users is you have to to take the individual interviews, and then there's a expert interview. Then there are card sorting, pair observing pair, resources. These are some of the exercises you have to do. The user persona is the stage after ideation. When you define this, there's a defined stage. At that stage, you have to document the user persona, that these are our insights, and we have made this is the user persona based on this. This is the answer of the Tuba, where you have to do the target audience for user persona. You are welcome. And any other question? I think if you
Not
guys
so
have
far.
any other question, you can simply message me. ADP list. Taiba already provided the ADP list link, and we'll touch man. Thank you once again, friends of Figma, to have me once again in this session.
Sure, sir. It was pleasure for us to have you here. Actually, we have a lot of confusion between the design sprint and the design thinking processes. So you have very well explained them,
There's
and
a
some of
clearly
those
different.
things.
I would
Yes,
again
sir.
suggest you that if you involve me in another session where I will explain, I have that presentation already ready. I don't have to do any new
Okay.
work for that.
Sure, sir. We'll be happy.
What's the difference between a where I
Yes,
explained
sir.
the design thinking, design sprint, agile UX, lean UX, human-centered design. There's IBM loop, IDEO process. So what's the difference in these? But I already have this presentation. I will explain. I will happily to explain. Fine.
Sure, sir. Inshallah, we'll happy to invite you once again.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
Take care, and have a nice day. Bye.
Okay, sir. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.